If you took all the pages that this publishing house has printed and put them end to end, it would pave the way to Saturn and back. That's around 2.5 billion kilometers, a long distance. We'll visit that publishing house today on Mission 360. Hello, I'm Gary Krause and welcome to Mission 360. Today we travel to Russia to meet a young man who believes it's vitally important to live a drug-free life. His example is a striking contrast to many other students his age, and he's gained the respect of friends who've actually started going to church with him and learning about the Bible. We'll also visit a Life Hope Center, an urban center of influence right in the heart of Kiev, the capital of Ukraine. And we'll meet a one-year-in-mission volunteer who was in New York City but is now back home training other volunteers to reach people in the cities. All this and much more, so buckle your seatbelts. Our first stop is Russia.
The Seventh-day Adventist message entered the Euro-Asia region very early in a miraculous way. In the early days, new converts to America sent tracts back to their relatives and friends in Russia. This made a precious impact upon key figures at the time. The church grew slowly from 1880 to 1990. It was only 110 years later, after perestroika or the restructuring, that the religious persecution ceased and the church was able to officially organize. In Russia, the church continues to use literature as a means of spreading the good news. The Source of Life publishing house prints many books, magazines, and other pieces of literature. Their mission is to empower members for better service and to bring many more to a deeper understanding of the Bible.
We are distributing books around the world to where there are Russian communities. We sell books to Europe, Israel, the United States, South America, and other parts of the world. We're producing about 40 new books each year. We produce mostly in Russian and 5 other different languages. As far as quantities is concerned, there are some interesting statistics. If you count the pages we have produced since the beginning, it would pave the way to Saturn back and forth. It's around 2.5 billion kilometers. We have a big perspective for the future.
Although the machinery here is more than 20 years old and the workers aren't enough for the demand, the staff aims high. The goal to evangelize the world is always in mind.
We exist to support church mission. All that we produce is aimed to support the church to succeed in the mission field.
Right next door to the publishing house is Zaoski. Zaoski Adventist Seminary has emerged from years of strict communist rule. After numerous petitions to the Soviet authorities, the Seventh-day Adventist Church was given permission to open a 3-year course for training ministers. In 1998, Zaoski opened as the first Protestant seminary in Russian history.
The students who first came to the seminary were overjoyed to begin study. In the beginning, there was just theology, but soon new programs were added and the school grew.
Today, Zaoski enrolls more than 600 students. In addition to religion, business, language, music, and agriculture programs are offered. Zaoski also offers classes from kindergarten to high school. Anton is a theology student here. After leaving the church for many years, he was rebaptized and dedicated his life to teaching Bible.
There is a special atmosphere here. The teachers will support the students, and we live here as one family.
Hina's parents came here as missionaries from Korea. They are working in the area as Hina studies the Russian and English languages.
I like it very much because the nature is beautiful. People are kind, and this is our church school with a wholesome Christian education.
The university recently completed 20 years of service, and they continue to make an impact in this region. Zaoski is located about 80 miles south of Russia's capital. Moscow is the largest city in the Eurasia region, with a population of more than 11 million people and the world-famous buildings like the Kremlin, St. Basil's Cathedral, the State Historical Museum, and Lenin's Mausoleum. The city is full of sights and life. From crowded streets and parks to tall buildings and luxurious lifestyles, there is a lot to encounter here.
My guest is Gina Wallin, who is very familiar with this region of the world. Gina, thank you so much for joining our program. Now, you edit these magazines here, the mission magazines known to people in the Adventist Church as the Mission Quarterlies. And I see these magazines all over the world, where these are read on Sabbath mornings to keep the focus on mission. Gina, you were recently back in Eurasia to collect some stories. What was it like going back almost to home?
It was fantastic. Yeah. I always love going back to Eurasia. My family and I lived there for 6 years. My kids spent their early years there, and we taught at the seminary in Zolski, and we had students from all over the division there, and going back feels just like going home.
Yeah. Now, were you there? It was very early in Zalski's history, right?
Right, really almost at the very beginning. We came in '92. We were there from '92 to '98. So our students are now the leaders there, and many of them are the professors there where we once taught.
That must be rewarding to go back and see the people that you had helped teach now taking important roles in forwarding mission in that area.
Very much so, and they are really mission-minded in this area. I believe they really always have been, and they're going forward with mission. On my most recent trip, I spent a lot of time in Ukraine, and there were just some fantastic people there with great stories.
Share one with us.
Volodya comes to mind immediately. I met Volodya, and he was telling me about how he became a Seventh-day Adventist. He grew up alone with his mom. His dad had left the scene when he was just a baby, and he grew up alone with his mom in a very, very poor setting. They lived in a very small apartment. Money was tight, and often they would have their electricity turned off. They couldn't pay the bill. His mom was depressed, in fact, considered committing suicide, wondered what is she going to do with her little boy, decided to take him to an orphanage. The day came, and she couldn't do it. She just knelt down beside him and hugged him and said, "I can't let you go, I can't let you go." And so they continued on, but their life was not very happy. Volodya grew. He became, when he was 12 years old, his mom again became very depressed, was thinking about suicide. And one day, a friend of hers came up and said, "You know, I hear there's a concert at this church, Seventh-day Adventist church. It is celebrating the birth of Christ. Why don't you just come? And I know the music is going to be great." So Vladimir's mom decided, hey, why not? I don't have anything else to do. So she went, and her heart was touched. The music was fantastic. The story was great, and it changed her life. She came home, and Vladimir noticed, there's something different about my mom. What is it? And she told him, she said, "You know, I learned about Jesus. He came as a baby. He lived here. He died for us. He's back in heaven, and he's coming for us. He cares about us." Vladimir said, her face lit up like a torch. I could see that my mom had really changed. But then his mom went on, "You know, I want to learn more about this Jesus, and I heard we can learn more if we could just get a Bible." Now, this was back in 1996, and I mean, at that point, it was not impossible to get a Bible, but in Ukraine, where they were living, it wasn't that easy either. And because their income was severely limited, they didn't know, number one, where could they find a Bible, but number two, how in the world could they ever afford a Bible? They thought about it, and a few days went by. Vladimir's mom came home and said, "I found where we can buy a Bible." But we've got just one challenge. It's a lot of money. In fact, it will cost our food money for 2 weeks. So I have a question for you. Are you willing, my son, to use our food money to buy a Bible now, and we can have a Bible, but it means we're not going to have money for food for 2 weeks? Are you willing to do that? And her son was 12 years old at the time. Now, imagine a 12-year-old boy. Would he be willing to go without food for 2 weeks so they could have a Bible? And he said, yeah, let's get the Bible. His mom was overjoyed. She took the food money, went and bought the Bible. And Vladimir told me, you know, I would go to school and I could hear my stomach rumbling. You know how it does when you're hungry.
Yeah.
But I was okay with that because I knew we had a Bible and we could learn about Jesus, and it was okay.
Gina, when I hear a story like that, that's so sobering, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, my stomach rumbles after half a day. You know? 12-year-old kid. The hunger for the Word of God is something that we hear about in former communist countries, and we just tend to take it so much for granted in countries where we have everything, right?
Yeah, that's right. I wondered, would I be willing to go 2 weeks for anything, you know? And the Bible, I had a Bible since I was, you know, younger than I can remember.
Wow.
And, yeah.
Gina, thanks for sharing that story. That's fantastic. For people who are interested, if you don't attend a Seventh-day Adventist church, you can read some of these stories that Gina has written. How do they find them online, Gina? Go to adventistmission.org?
That's right. And then under resources, and they can find a mission quarterly for youth and adult, and also for children. We have this story in there and many, many more.
Fantastic. Thanks again, Gina, for joining us. Viewers at home, hunger for the Word of God. So important in our lives, but we take it so much for granted. Don't go away. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back to Mission 360. My guest is Yali Simon, who works for the Office of Adventist Mission and is actually the producer of Mission 360. Yali, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Nice to be on the other side of the camera or not?
It's a little discomforting to be on this side. But
well, it's good to have you.
It's nice to be here.
Yeah, and Yali, you were recently in Russia and you were in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. And in Ukraine, you met a young woman. Tell us about her.
Mm-hmm. When I was visiting the Ukraine and Russia, Anna was there. She had recently come from the United States. But let me tell you a little bit of her story first.
Yeah.
Anna was attending one of the state universities in Russia, a really good university. She went for a biology degree there, and she was sure that God had led her to that school, to that program. She had seen the miracles that God had done in her life to bring her there. And at this time, she was about to graduate. So she was very excited. He wanted to put her knowledge into practice. So as soon as she was done, she went to look for a job. And she began sending resumes everywhere and applying here and there. But she noticed that it was a lot harder than she had thought. And she couldn't get a job. Hmm. And so she did what any good Christian would do. So she knelt down and she prayed and said, Lord, I can't find a job. I don't know why this is happening, but I do know that you guided me to this program. And you wanted me to study biology, and you wanted me to go to school. And I know that you're going to find a place for me. So she got up and went about business, continued to apply, until she met the youth director for her conference. And they started talking and sharing ideas. And he mentioned to her that there's an initiative from the General Conference and that they were asking for a representative for the whole division to come to New York City and train and to bring that knowledge back into their division. So she was really thrilled about that. She always wanted to serve the church. And so she indicated to him that she would be willing to go. And he said, well, don't get too excited yet. This is a very unique opportunity. It's only one person from our whole division. There's many people applying. And she thought, well, I'll fill out an application. And she did. And she left it there, but she didn't think too much of it. She said, only one person from our whole division, it's most likely I won't get this opportunity. So she went home. And she did pray about it. And the pastor called her. They kept in communication. And later on, I don't know how much later after that, but she got a call from the pastor saying, you know, we're really hoping that you're still interested. We're wanting you to go. And she got the position. And this was to come here to New York City to be part of the one-year mission program, which is pretty much one missionary from each division will come, so 13 people representing the several regions of the world that the Adventist Church is in. And they get leadership training on how to do mission to the cities. And so she was thrilled. As soon as they got here, they started learning community service, medical missionary work, evangelism, and communication, and a few other things. And not only learning to take the knowledge back, but they were also experimenting with some of the things and getting practical training as well. So some of the activities that they would do is to go door to door and meet people in their neighborhood, ask to pray for them, see if they had any needs. They also encountered a bunch of people in the streets, and they, for some people they would give hugs, some people they would ask if they had any needs, and just really connecting with the people in the streets and the people in their local area. And what happened from this is that a bunch of people started getting interested in what they're doing. And they said, well, what else are we going to do? So they started having cooking classes in the evening, Bible studies. They pretty soon identified that a great need in the community they were in was to learn English. There's a lot of immigrants there. So they started teaching English classes. And that started making a pretty good impact, not only in the people in that community, but also in the Adventist Church. And the Adventist Church members started to see that what they were doing was good, and that was an effective way of connecting with people. And they themselves started to get involved in the project. One of the things that she highlighted was the main purpose to be there wasn't just to connect with the community, but to also get the church members involved from that area. And one of the objectives was to use Christ's method. They didn't want to just invite people to church. They wanted to really connect with them, make friends with them, meet their needs, gain their trust, you know. And then, only then, they would ask them to follow Jesus and to give them that opportunity. And it was a very successful work. They were there for 6 months. And then as she went back to her region, that's when I met her, when I was there in Kiev. She was just coming back and starting a program. So this is sort of leadership training for 6 months. They go back, they train several other leaders at the union level in their region of the world. And then they go back and they teach several other leaders from their conference and to the church level. And so from this one event, a bunch of church leaders will be sent all over the world to show people how Christ's method is of reaching people.
Yeah, fantastic. I actually went up and spent a couple of days with these young people in New York and talked about Christ's method with them. And there were 14 kids. There was also, well, young people. There was another one from the Middle East as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing stories of what happens as they go back.
Yeah,
and
that ought to be exciting.
Yeah, so did she talk about what sort of plans she has back in Ukraine?
They, from what they learned here, they are testing some things locally. Some things worked better than what they had done here. There's some things that also, one of the things that she said was she would just approach people and say, hey, can I pray with you? And in that region of the world, it's pretty unusual. But she said it works. People want to be prayed with, and people want you to chat with them. Some feel very lonely. And to some people, it may seem really strange, you know, just go up to a person and say if they have any needs and pray with them. But I remember that was one of the initiatives that came from New York that she just said, it really works here, and the church members are excited about it.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Yali, thank you so much for sharing that story with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Viewers at home, if you want to learn more about Mission to the Cities, you can go to missiontothecities.org. That's missiontothecities.org. There you'll learn about things such as the 1 year in mission initiative. You'll learn about centers of influence, holistic mission in the cities. And please pray for these young people who have gone back to their home territories to put into practice what they have learned. Pray that the Holy Spirit will continue to guide them, to encourage them, and that many results will be seen as a result of their efforts and your prayers for them. We'll be right back after this break.
The Euro-Asia region covers the greatest territory and embraces a total of 11 time zones. Here you can visit 13 countries. Some of them are Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, Ukraine, and Uzbekistan. By population, Eurasia is the second smallest of the denomination's 13 world regions. In a population of approximately 280 million, there are only about 170,000 church members, with more than 45% living in the country of Ukraine. The majority of Ukraine's population lives in urban areas. Presently, 70% of the population lives in cities. Despite a busy lifestyle, many in the metropolitan crowd still have a desire for something that will truly fulfill them. For this reason, the Adventist Church is emphasizing the method that Jesus used. It's essential to connect one-on-one with people, to befriend them and win their trust. Anna Gavello spent 6 months exploring tangible approaches in New York City. Now she is training local volunteer missionaries in her region.
I have a really great team here. They came from all over our division, and they are ready to work here, and they are ready to go back and to preach the gospel.
We took from New York the best ideas and things that we saw and tried to apply over here, plus own ideas, own projects, and now we see how it's work, and it worked excellent.
Jesus met the people where they were and provided for their needs. Therefore, centers of influence are established here to meet needs. A good example is the Adventist Christian Medical Center located just a few miles from the center of Kiev. Center volunteers encounter the community in the street. They invite them to learn healthy cooking, how to stop smoking, manage stress, and offer a variety of other classes. Today, they are preparing a meal to show their new friends the flavorful taste of healthy living. This center of influence is mainly developing as a hospital. There will be many rooms for patients, doctors, and a variety of treatments.
First success that we see now, this is a really good relationship with our neighbors. You see that a lot of big buildings with a lot of people who lives here. In 7 minutes of walking, more than 15,000 people living here, and more than 60% of our neighbors, these people now already coming to our health promotion programs for consultations, including addictions, including problems with losing weight, including with depression, and etc.
The community around the center understands the genuine interest in improving their lives, and they come to learn about life and hope. As the faithful members seek for ways to connect and touch lives, the Lord opens doors in this region. Recently, the Ukrainian government granted Hope Channel the first Protestant TV license in the country.
We can see a great development. Actually, you have these 5 major cities of Ukraine with the Hope Channel on cable, great companies, and more than 40 cities receive the signal through cable. But of course, through satellite, everybody can watch Hope Channel.
Hope Channel Ukraine now broadcasts on some 600 cable channels, reaching 60% of the country's population. The people of Russia can also watch the TV channel. There are many programs offered in the Russian language. We live in a rapidly developing world. People make progress in all fields of human activities. Our city changes, our life changes, but our faithfulness and commitment to mission should never be forgotten.
I'm here because I know that God wants me to be here, and I love Him and He loves me, and I know that He loves so many people here, but they don't know Him. So I want them to be happy too, and I want all of us to be together with Him as fast as possible.
Please pray for the faithful members in the Eurasia region. Pray that the Lord will give them the tools that will help them overcome their challenges.
We need Adventist consecrated specialists, people who love the Lord. As Christ said, a lot of harvest, but small reapers, and this is our great need. And I'm asking World Church to pray about this.
We have many faithful church members in the Eurasia division, 170,000. We have more than 1,300 pastors, and we have about 50 missionaries coming from other countries and serving in this division, because the Lord will multiply those efforts, those prayers, and those financial resources to reach the people with the gospel of hope. And only in heaven you will see the wonderful result of people saved by your commitment.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's 360-degree view of mission around the world. From the vast territories of Russia to cities in Ukraine, people are sharing the light of Jesus' love. If you've enjoyed the stories you've seen today, you'll enjoy the Mission 360 DVD. And if you live in North America, we'd like to send you a free copy. Just call the toll-free number, or you can visit our website at any time. This DVD is full of stories, frontline mission stories, and I know that you'll be blessed as you watch this DVD. Please continue to pray for the people and places you've seen on today's program, and for the many frontline mission workers around the globe. And thank you so much for your continuing financial and prayerful support of mission that helps make so much of this possible. I'm Gary Krause, and I hope you can join me next time right here on Mission 360.